Hello, this is Steve Kaufman, and today I have a special guest. It is Stefani Kostadinova, who is originally, in fact, is now living in Bulgaria, but has traveled to many countries, and we are going to talk about, and has a background, I should say, academic background in language learning. And so we're going to talk about language learning, but remember, if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe, click on the bell for notifications. If you follow me on a podcast service, please leave a comment. So, Stefani, hello, good morning, at least in my time zone.
Hi Steve. It's great to be here on your channel.
Could you, Stefani, give us a brief introduction to you and your activities as it concerns learning languages?
Yeah, I have been into learning languages for a very long time, and I actually grew up in a monolingual household, surrounded by a lot of dialects, which is normal in Bulgaria, but truly just one language at home and not really much that I would hear outside of my home. So for me, it was a journey that was about the love of languages, and I liked it even at school, where, I often argue that it's not the best way to learn, the way that is presented at school, but I enjoyed it even then, and I would always do these outside activities, outside of school, and, getting a lot of input into language learning. And for me, it was really Spanish that opened the floodgates, because with Spanish, which was not available at my school at the time, and I really wanted to learn. And with that language, I figured out, how to learn by myself and everything. And from then on, I'd added more and more languages as I find it fascinating.
And, a number of things that you said there are quite interesting. One is that you grew up in a monolingual family.
Right.
And I remember I was at a Polyglot conference in Montreal and talking to 600 people, and I said, how many people here grew up in a family that had more than one language? And practically no one put their hand up. So the myth that you have to be raised in a multilingual family, it's simply not true. It can be a positive factor, but it's certainly not necessary. The second thing is Bulgaria, you say a lot of different dialects. So how different are these dialects from each other? Are they still Bulgarian, or are they different sort of Slavic languages?
Right. So they're still Bulgarian, or at least that's how they're classified by linguists. But if somebody from the eastern part of the country, like closer to the Black Sea or something, goes to the southwest, for example, and especially in villages where the dialects are very strong, chances are they're not going to be able to understand much. So
really?
I do think it's the same language, but sometimes we don't understand each other if we are speaking in dialects. Yeah.
So, and of course, Macedonian, of course, is a separate language, right? But has some similarity with Bulgarian. Is there sort of a gradual transition from Bulgarian to Macedonian, and then from Macedonian to, say, Serbian? Is there a gradual progression there, or are they all distinct?
Yeah, so with Macedonian, and there's a whole lot of political issue there. So I'm going to try to kind of skate around that as well as I can and not really get too involved into that. But generally, linguists disagree. There's quite a lot of, some say that, many actually say that it is really the same language, kind of part of a dialect continuum, the way that Norwegian and Swedish would be, and Danish maybe. So it's kind of a dialect continuum between Macedonian and Bulgarian, and most linguists say that. And of course, there's a lot of other views which are mainly driven by politics, and again, I don't want to touch that. But really, it depends where you are from, I would say, what part of Bulgaria you're from, because for example, there is actually a region in Bulgaria that's called Macedonia, as well as in Greece, of course, but in Greece they mostly speak Greek. And the region of Bulgaria that's called Macedonia, and what in the Republic of Macedonia is spoken, there's quite a lot of similarity there. Obviously, in towns and cities not so much, but in villages it's they speak almost the same way. But if you look at northeast Bulgaria, they wouldn't be able to understand Macedonian very well, just because they're much further away from the border. So it kind of, the dialects really play into the question there. And with Serbian, because you mentioned Serbian as well, I would say that Macedonian, as in like what is spoken in the country of Macedonia, perhaps borrows a lot from Serbian, I would say. So there's
Okay.
that interesting kind of dynamic that's happening, and yeah, it's certainly quite a lot of exchange.
Yes, and you know, it's interesting because in French, the mixed vegetable dish is called macédoine. Did you know that?
Yeah, yeah.
And this refers to the fact that there's such a variety of languages spoken in the Balkans, I guess. I don't know. So, from a background of all these different languages and dialects, you decided to go out and learn other languages. Can you tell us how many languages you speak and what was your experience and your path towards learning these languages?
Yeah, so for me, I always distinguish between two things, like how many I speak and how many I learn. And
good advice. Yes.
Yeah, I say currently that I speak 8, and for me it's I kind of feel comfortable to say I speak a language at around the intermediate level. When I'm a beginner,
Agreed.
I don't feel comfortable. So yeah, I would say that out of those, I'm fluent in 5 and intermediate in 3, and I study a couple of more currently, Persian and Russian, but I don't say I speak them because they're just in very beginning stages. Although Russian is weird because I've always been able to understand it just by virtue of being Slavic, but not really speak it. So yeah, it's always been.
Which are the 5? Which are the 5?
Yeah.
Comfortable?
Yeah, so obviously my native one, and English, and then Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian. Yeah, very focused on the Romance group.
And the 3 intermediate languages?
French, German, and Greek.
Aha, Greek, Hellenica, very good.
Yeah.
First, let me tell you that your use of English, to me, is a model of how people should speak in another language. No one would think that you are a native speaker because there's a trace of an unidentifiable something accent that says you're not a native speaker.
Yep.
However, your use of phrasing, your use of words is 100% native. Not only native, but at a higher level than many, many natives. And I've always said, people strive to be, mistaken for a native. Forget it. You're not going to achieve that.
Right.
Focus instead on using words in a economical, intelligent, accurate, elegant way. And if you do those things and you pull it off with a slight accent, in fact, it sounds better than if you try to not have an accent, but you can't use words properly. I think that should be the model when we learn a foreign language, to speak English the way you speak English. Very impressed, very impressed.
Thank you. And thanks so much for the kind words. And actually, add something quick here, I've never been concerned with accents, which, it's just never bothered me. And also, I think it really depends on kind of how your mouth moves. It's really weird, but when your mouth is moving a certain way thanks to your native language, and sometimes it picks up easier some accents than others. And I've noticed from day one, I had a really good accent in Greek, better than my English accent, but my Greek is much worse than my English. So there's that.
I would think too. I think particularly the vowels. I would imagine like Greek has very standard vowel sounds, like Spanish, Greek, and I presume Bulgarian. And English, like Swedish, there's a lot of diphthongy, or Portuguese, diphthongy type sounds that are more different. So it's going to be more difficult to hit those. Where did you study abroad, or how did you go about learning these languages?
Yeah, so I did study abroad in the US. I did a year in the US when I was 11th grade, and then I went to an American university here in Bulgaria, and then after that, where the American university here teaches entirely in English, and then after that, I got my master's degree in the US again, which was another 2 years.
In what subject?
In business.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it was. I've lived in the US for quite a while, but the other languages that I really learned kind of before I went to the respective countries. So I did an internship in Germany back in the day, but I learned German before that. I worked in Spain for a year, but I learned Spanish before I went to Spain. So I wouldn't say that travel is the key to my language learning, definitely not. But I think that it must have certainly helped with English back in the day in high school, I guess. But yeah, it was always for me, learn the language before you land. That's just how my life turned out. Not that there's anything wrong with doing it the other way around, but in my
but
case,
your way is so much better because you arrive, you hit the ground running, you can make friends with the locals, you can really build on it. If you arrive hoping that just by being there you're going to learn the language, I think you're in most cases going to be disappointed. You basically settle into a pattern of living with other expats and speaking English the whole time. So, not a good. Just curious, I would imagine that your pronunciation in Spanish is very good as well. You mentioned Greek.
Yeah, I would say better than in English, yeah, for sure.
For sure, and better than your German, even better. I'm talking pronunciation.
Right.
Maybe your German, maybe you're more fluent in German, I don't know, but because of the point that you made about the similarity of pronunciation, I would imagine that you would find Spanish pronunciation more natural to you.
Yes, very much so. Spanish, much more natural than French, much more natural than German, yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so what do you do now in Bulgaria?
I work for a tech company. I do strategy for them. And then at the same time, I do this on YouTube where, I make videos and I sometimes work as a language coach. So I kind of have two careers going on at the moment.
Okay, we will leave a link to your channel. Tell us the name of your channel.
It's called Polyglot Secrets.
Polyglot Secrets. And we'll leave a link and people should go there. And do you speak in English or do you speak in a variety of languages?
I speak mostly in English. I do have a video in which I speak in all the languages that I know. And then I also have videos with other polyglots where I've spoken other languages, but it's mostly in English because I feel like I can get it to more people that way. I can share what I know with like a broader audience.
And the people who watch your channel, are they watching your channel to improve their English? Are they watching your channel for hints on how to learn languages better? And where are they from mostly?
Yeah, so the people who watch my channel, I believe most of them watch to just in general to learn how to improve language learning. And actually the biggest number of people that watch my channel are from the US. And then there's a few other countries, of course, Bulgaria, the UK, Brazil, and Germany. Those are my biggest geographies. But I've come across people that I think are interested in improving their English because I sometimes get comments such as, can you please speak more slowly? So I'm guessing that there's also that kind of audience as I sometimes get those comments. But yeah, in general, I think like I've tried to make my channel mostly about sharing my experience and, dispelling some myths. And so I think it's mostly people that are interested in knowing how to learn languages.
I mean, I think that's super. I think the world of people like you and like me making videos about language learning and even, English is the one language where you really have to get used to how people speak who are from different areas of the world. If you're going to learn French, you're going to either listen to a French person or someone from Quebec, or if you're going to learn Portuguese, you're going to listen to someone from Portugal or Brazil, and so forth and so on. But with English, you have to get used to understanding people from India, from Singapore, from Australia, from Bulgaria, from everywhere. Not that you have a pronounced, Bulgarian accent, but I think it's important that people like you make these videos. People watch them to improve, to get a better, sense of how to learn languages. But also, I'm sure many people from Brazil, you mentioned, or other countries, Bulgaria, will also be using these videos to improve their English. So we're part of the same community. The world of language learning has changed. And thank you for joining me here today. And hopefully we will inspire more people to do the same.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm a huge fan and I am honored to have been on your channel, Steve.
Thank you very much. Bye for now.